Hello, I'm Zardas, and let's play Planet Zoo. Welcome back to CzarZoo. This will be episode 23 in the series, and today we are finishing out the Africa portion of the zoo. What we're going to do first is the Western Chimpanzee habitat, and then we're going to work on the Pygmy Hippo habitat. And what you see me doing here is just trying to get the this habitat set up with a little bit of a pathway over it, because we already had the pathway there and I wanted to fit the barrier underneath, but the barrier needed to be a little bit taller than what the path would allow, so I had to adjust that. But yeah, so then we're going to continue this a little bit, and then yeah, I'll catch up after that. Back here, I had to decide where I wanted it to end so that we could fit a doorway in there. Now I wanted to bring it all the way down here as close as we could to the path, and then I wanted some glass there so people could see in there. And here we're going to rearrange it a little bit, I guess, to get the doorway in here. But maybe I just decided not to go that far, and now I decided that this looked kind of weird, so we ended it that way. Okay, so now we're going to try to get the pathway to that door, and I had to move that building over a little bit to do so. So then we're going to bring this path back this way, and now we're ready to get some chimpanzees. Now, one thing I've discovered is that the frame rate, because we have like 14,000 people, or actually right now we only have 12,000, but the frame rate is really starting to suffer. When I play with the game running, the frame rate is at like 9 frames per second, which really, the lag starts to like drag on the performance. But so what I've decided is I'm going to work on it while it's paused, and then it jumps to like 20 frames per second. And so that is acceptable, but then I have to unpause it to get the animals delivered. So that's why we are running it. And you probably can't notice the frame rate problem right now because of the time lapse. But anyway, so I was trying to see if I could find a ready-made blueprint for their climbing apparatus, but I didn't really like any that I already had, and I haven't felt like digging through the workshop lately. So I didn't have anything that I really wanted to use, and so I just ended up using the in-game ones and just combine them together a bit. And now I'm just throwing in some enrichment and hoping that we will have that all set, and once the animals arrive, we will be able to get the terrain set. And now I'm trying to look to see where they're at. They're all in transit and making their way over. They should be here any moment. There's one. All right, so now we come back into terrain, and you can see that I'm trying to get the terrain all set, and this is where it really starts to lag, because the game, you have to have it unpaused so that the animal can recalculate the game can recalculate on behalf of the animal how much of each terrain type they have in real time. But then the game is trying to calculate that and manage all of the people that are there all at the same time, and all the animals too. Here I'm looking and I'm seeing the escape points, and this chimpanzee, oh man, he almost made it out, but he didn't. And so that was good. But it was funny, I recorded this part of it with the little Czar on my lap, and I remember him wanting to see the chimpanzee get out, but we didn't quite let him get out that way. But anyway, so now I'm just adding a little bit more climbing stuff because they seem to need a little bit more. And for that is it for the chimpanzees. Now we move on to the pygmy hippos, and I looked to see how tall the barrier has to be, and it doesn't have to be very tall at all. I think it was like 3 feet, but we're going to get this over here, and then I might take a look again, to double check. Yeah, so I come back down, and we get it to about a little less than 1.5 meters, it looks like. And then we go all the way around, And in a little bit, I'm actually going to change this to steel mesh because I wanted to get it in the water and it wasn't going to look right with the wood. So like right about here, I decided to switch to steel mesh, and then I end up going back and changing, I think, all around, except for over by that ugly solar panel, which we later on will go in and try and hide it a little bit. But yeah, see here, I come around and no, I did the whole thing, steel mesh. So then we get the door over here, and then we just have a little bit of a ways that the path has to go, and that condensed pretty well. And it works out well that there's a little bit of the ground to get from the door to the main part of the dirt there, or the earth area. So now we're getting some pygmy hippos. We're going to get 1 male and 3 females, and we'll move them all in here and let the game speed up a little bit. But in the meantime, we'll get a little bit of stuff in here, like we need shelter and food and some enrichment and stuff like that. Now this is from the workshop, but I don't remember what it's called. We used it in an earlier episode when we did the full-size hippopotamus, but we're going to use the Hippo Shelter again here. And here I was just having a little bit of trouble with the animals getting in here. But so we move this and we get their shelter there, and then I put some food closer to the door, which is kind of what I like to do so that the keepers don't have to theoretically walk quite so far to feed them. But then we end up putting some food enrichment items at other spots to try and encourage the hippos to kind of go over that way. And now I noticed that one of them arrived, so I paused it again so that the frame rate is better. I'm trying to decide where to put that mud bath. Ended up over there. I'm just adding a few more enrichment items in here. This one I'm really happy. I put that waterfall there by the path, and it just kind of, it feels pretty cool. And I think I probably could have hidden it under the path itself, but then people wouldn't be able to see quite so well as the hippos are going under it. So now we're getting the terrain set here, and I'm going to have some coffee while we work on this. So I tried to get a balance of all of the terrain types that they need, and tried to get it kind of a realistic look to it, where like the rocks are over there by the water, then you have some dirt that goes over by the shelter and the mud bath, and then you get a little bit of grass over away from the water. So now we're trying to get a little bit of plants in here, and I went with those lilies first, and then I decided that I wanted to get more reeds in place just to kind of add to the ambiance of that. And then got some mangrove trees, I believe, and then some palm trees over here. And then I think we get some ferns as well. Yeah, those are tree ferns. And then some smaller ferns in there. Then I get a few things over there too. So just kind of filling a lot of the little gaps here. Getting a little bit there, and then we'll get maybe a big tree, maybe not. I think, oh yeah, just more mangrove in there, just to kind of really add to that feel in there. Then I decide that in a little bit, I think we're gonna add a building around that that solar panel. Yep, here we go. So I tried to figure out, what would be a good way to hide this, and I thought about using that, and then I remembered, well, this is solar panel, so we can't really hide, we can't block the light from it. So I went with the regular, the shorter walls, and then tried to figure out what I wanted to do on the side, and I ended up just doing that. So it's kind of like a wall around it, and then I thought about putting something on the front too, but nothing really seemed to work, so we just left it that way. And I don't know if it really improved the guest experience there, but I liked how it looked. Now I remembered that we need to get an education thing in here. So we put that there, switched it to pygmy, and then started adding just a little bit more foliage in random places in the Africa area. And I think we ended up, I added some vending machines. You saw there I had a frame rate, a lag issue there. I placed it and then moved the mouse, and it hadn't actually placed it yet. But so then I added those to the work zone too, and then I thought, you know what, that's gonna take a lot to get all of those in the work zone. So like I had originally planned to add a whole bunch of vending machines all over the place, but for now we'll just leave it the way it is. Then I wanted to come through here, and when I first built the paths, I didn't put the curbs in, and I thought I liked it, but then at some point I decided that I didn't like it without the curbs. So now I've been slowly trying to go in and add curbs everywhere. But it's a big job because there's a lot of paths. So that's what I was doing there. And now I'm adding a few trees around the reptile house. And like I said, we're really going to try and fill in a lot of the foliage gaps. Here I just wanted a nice like line of plants along here, just to again fill that space a little bit. And you can see me like getting a whole bunch of them here, trying to change up them so they're not all facing, like not all repeating and stuff like that. And that just really fills that gap a little bit. And then we come in over here by this walkthrough. I think this is the aardvark habitat. It's been a lot of fun to build the Africa portion. I think it's my favorite part of the zoo, except for the safari area. I'm not quite sold on how that turned out, but a lot of this other stuff I'm really pleased with. And like especially this, the okapi habitat is a really cool walkthrough there. And it feels really, really nice. So then down in here, there's a blueprint. I don't know that I remember who made it. I'll try to put an overlay on top, I guess. But it's really cool. I'm looking for more staff paths. It's simple, and it adds just a little bit of a touch to that, where it's a rope and a little sign that says staff only. And I think I probably should turn it the other way so that the sign is on the other side of the rope. But I kept it that way for now anyway. So now I'm just trying to fill in a little bit more foliage along the back there, and then trying to add a few more details here and there. But yeah, I think for the most part. And then I'm like, oh wait, there's this vehicle that is part of the game itself, and it would be really easy to just add this in a few spots, just to add just a tiny bit more detail in there. So now I'm just really admiring the Africa area, and I'm really, like I said, pleased with how it turned out. Looking at the pygmies and checking to make sure that they have things that they need, and adding one more education board over here for them. And then I think that'll be about it. So then I go in and adjust the audio there too. But oh yeah, and then add a whole bunch of benches, because people like to sit every once in a while. I'm sitting right now. But anyway, that would about do it for today. Next, we will be moving into the Asia area. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you next time. Take care.